Good evening, Chicago. Welcome on into another edition of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. So good to be back with you guys tonight on this Monday night, the first Monday of June. Summer is here. It was hot over the weekend. The sun was out. Baseballs were flying around. One of the teams was doing some winning. The other team not so much over the weekend. But, you know, we got to enjoy some good baseball. There was playoffs going on. There were OTAs going on. With Bears, all kinds of stuff to be talking about here with you today. Plus, just, I don't know about you guys, but my weekend was kind of a little more exciting, I think, than I had originally intended, and I don't necessarily mean that in the best way. We'll maybe get into that a little bit. Welcome on in, though, to Chi-Town Weekly. Today we will be discussing, of course, the Northside Cubs. They had a player get named Player of the Week in the National League. This past week, we will be talking about one Patrick Wisdom over on the South Side. They've now got a manager that has won more games than any other manager, save for one in the entire history of the major leagues. We will talk a bit about Tony LaRussa and his milestone, and of course we couldn't have a milestone with Tony LaRussa without a little bit of controversy, so we'll talk about that. And then the Bears, we're doing Bears football things up at Hallis Hall. Let's get into it. Let's dive on in. This is Chi-Town Weekly. Everybody buckle up. Let's have some fun. And once again, my name is Adam Karnick. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day or your Monday evening or whenever in the week you listen to us. I really, really appreciate you guys coming back. If you are listening live, of course, you can feel free to log on in to the Spreaker chat room. It is free. Hop on in there and we can interact back and forth. Good evening, Taryn. I see you there. Yes, the Monday men are back in the house. Taryn will be right on after us tonight with Set Point tonight. He'd been bouncing around some different times and days recently, but he is back tonight with us after we're done. So good evening, Taryn. And of course, without any further ado, we have to give a shout out to our sponsor for tonight, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organization. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get film, to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you have been waiting for as an athlete. You can follow them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, find them on Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, or on Facebook by searching for Southern California Warriors. And here at IE Sports Radio, of course, we are available on all the major social media platforms. Find us on Twitter at IE Sports Radio, Instagram at IE Sports Radio, or Facebook, just search IE Sports Radio. You can also go to our website, www.iesportsradio.com. And then this show is also on Twitter, search at IESRC. Or then if you want to follow along on my personal page, you can do that on Twitter at Adam_Karnick. And once again, if you are listening live, hop on into the Spreaker chat. Or if you just want to sit back and listen to me, that's fine too. We take that. So let's start off tonight on the South Side with the White Sox. First of all, I loved those uniforms that they were wearing over the weekend. MLB broke out some is doing some unique uniforms, some city uniforms throughout the season, and the White Sox wore theirs this past weekend. Looked sharp. I really, really, really liked those. All black with white pinstripes, and then south side across the chest. Just looked really, really sharp. Kudos to them for that. But then, actually on the field, a 4-game set with the Tigers over the weekend. The Sox took 3 out of the 4, and in doing so, in the game yesterday, manager Tony LaRussa got career win number 2,764. It puts him second all-time in the manager's list for wins. He was in a tie with fellow Hall of Famer John McGraw, who managed way back from 1899 to 1932. LaRussa, so now is in sole possession of second place. He is behind only the Hall of Famer Connie Mack, who managed from 1894 to 1950 and has 3,731 career wins. So realistically, this is as high on that list as Tony is going to get. I don't think he's got enough time left at 78 years old to get another 1,000 wins to pass Connie Mack. But good for Tony. Congratulations to him. Obviously, he has had terrific success throughout his managerial career. A lot of it, in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. But he did win the World Series his last time out in 2011 before currently taking over with the White Sox. There was a little bit of controversy with him this weekend. It's Tony LaRussa. Of course, there's going to be something going on with Tony. Though this, especially with what we've been dealing with the last few times with LaRussa and controversy, I'm okay with this one. It was a situation where late in the game, I believe it was Saturday, where the Sox it was a late inning, and the Sox were down a run. They were at the bottom of the order. It was the number 9 hitter was due up. They had runners on first and second with the number 9 hitter batting. So LaRussa decided to have his hitter lay down a sacrifice bunt in an attempt to move both runners up. Instead of being at first and second, you'd then have, with nobody out, you'd have men on second and third with only one away. So the tying run at third and the go-ahead run at second with one out, so a chance to a base hit gives you the lead, or a sacrifice fly ties the game. All right, the math anymore plays out that the outs are, you don't want to be giving away outs that you would much rather be swinging away there in that situation, that having men on second and third with one away isn't as big of a statistical advantage as you'd think it would be. That you're about just as even to score a run with men on first and second and nobody out as you are with men on second and third and one out. But that's the way the game was managed, certainly 20, 30 years ago when Tony was certainly at the height of his managerial powers. And it's not a completely boneheaded move. You had Tim Anderson and you had Nick Madrigal coming up as the next 2 hitters. It was defensible. It was defendable. Maybe not necessarily the best move. Maybe not necessarily the move that many managers today would do. Though A.J. Hinch, the Tigers manager, knew what was coming and immediately signaled the defense, "Hey, come up!" Signaled his first baseman, "Come up!" And the bunt got laid down, and instead of throwing to first, they threw to third and got the lead runner. So you then had men at first and second with 1 out instead of no outs. So it was effectively the same as a strikeout. But all right, you could understand where he was coming from with the move. I wouldn't have necessarily done that if I were in his situation, but I understand where he's coming from. And Tony would say, well, I'm the manager. I'm the guy with now, 2,764 wins, and I've got, World Series rings, and you're a guy that talks into a microphone. So, take it with a grain of salt. LaRussa, as far as being in second place on that manager list too, I don't think he's going to get caught by anybody anytime soon. He's going to be holding on to that list for a while. I'm on baseballreference.com looking at the full list. The next closest active manager is Dusty Baker, who has a little over 1,900 wins. So, he's halfway to LaRussa, and Dusty Baker's not going to be managing too many more years, I would think. Next after that is Terry Francona, who is 1,000, who is well over 1,000 wins away. Dusty Baker's only 800. I said halfway. I'm sorry. Dusty Baker's only 800 away. Terry Francona's 1,000 wins away. Neither of those guys are going to stand a chance to catch him. Joe Madden, he's getting up there in age. He's at 1,300, so he is not quite halfway there. I'm looking to see any of the younger names. Maybe Joe Girardi. How old is Joe Girardi now? Joe Girardi is... he's 56. He's got... Sorry, I have to go back to the... I had to go to his personal page to see his age. Now I have to go back to the manager list to see where he's at as far as wins. He's sitting now at... where'd he go? I apologize. He just disappeared off the list here. Anyway, he's got a ways to go. He's at 56, maybe, but I mean, you're talking he'd have to manage as long as Dusty Baker, as Tony LaRussa has. Another 20 years to get there. There he is. He's at just over 1,000. So he's got a long ways to go to get there. So Tony LaRussa will be holding on to that spot for a good long while, to say the least. And then over on the north side this weekend, the Cubs didn't really do very well. They dropped 3 out of 4 to the Giants. The first night was kind of understandable. After a long, successful homestand, you then immediately turn around and fly out west, a 3-hour flight, and then play and get yourself adjusted. You kind of figured the first game might be a little rough, but to drop the next 2 was a bit frustrating. But they avoided being swept yesterday, thanks in huge part to one Patrick Wisdom. Patrick Wisdom hit 2 home runs yesterday that helped propel the Cubs to avoid the sweep and beat the Giants yesterday. And Patrick Wisdom earlier today got announced the National League Player of the Week for this past week from May 31st through June 2nd. Listen to these numbers he had for this past week. Batting average, .435. Slugging, .458. Or excuse me, I said that wrong. Batting average, .435. On base percentage, 458. Slugging, 1261. That adds up to an on-base plus slugging percentage of 1719. For context right now, OPS, average OPS across the majors right now is 708. He had a weighted runs created plus, which, remember, we talked about that score last week. That's basically a number that you can use to easily at a glance judge as a player above or below average. With, again, remember, 100 being an average score. He had a weighted runs created plus score of 325. He had himself a good week. A double and 6 home runs. Pretty solid week for the young man, 29-year-old. And he has just come out of nowhere this season. The Cubs brought him in because they've been dealing with so many injuries to so many people at so many different levels across this team, and he has gone nuts. Wisdom now has 7 home runs in 8 games with the Cubs. He is just the 3rd player in MLB history to do that. The other 2 were Aristides Aquino in 2019 and Trevor Story in 2016. So all 3 guys within the last 5 years, huge emphasis on hitting home runs in ballparks. Still, that also for Patrick Wisdom, that those 7 home runs, he's already tied the club record for most home runs in a player's first 15 games. He's got another 7 games to go to try and hit 1 more and have that record all to himself. So, who is this guy? Who is Patrick Wisdom? We will answer that question after we come back from a brief timeout here on Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Back in a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, hear me and hear me good. If you like sports, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like comedy, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like a different opinion coming from a different angle, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. So join me Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with your host, Jelani J.B. Bodie. And of course, my man Lopan on the WaitAMinuteShow.com. Ain't that right, Lopan?
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
Hey USRN fans, do you have a product or company you're trying to promote? Look no further. USRN is teaming up with small local businesses trying to establish themselves via online promotion. Let us know if you're interested. Email us at usrnradio@gmail.com to learn more.
everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Quick check over into the chat room, and I see Taryn posting in there, reminding us that the Cubs and Padres start a series tonight. Yes, that should be fun, a rematch from last week's set where the Cubs swept the Padres. We'll see what the Padres have in store for the Cubs this week. The Cubs have put out their starting lineup for tonight. No Javier Baez tonight. He injured his thumb. Per David Ross a little bit ago, I was just checking Twitter, and this is from Russ Dorsey of the Chicago Sun-Times. He tweeted out that David Ross, talking about Javier Baez, said that it looks like it's a minor injury to Baez's thumb. They're going to keep him out tonight just as a precaution. The Cubs cannot afford any more injuries to basically anybody. So that is about as good a news as you could have hoped. So tonight's lineup for the Cubs looks as such. Leading off is going to be catcher Wilson Contreras. Chris Bryant is second, playing right field. Anthony Rizzo, third, playing first base. Patrick Wisdom is batting fourth, batting third base. You've got Marisnik in center field. Ian Happ in left. Alcantara playing short in place of Javier Baez. Then Sogard at second, and Adbert Alzolay on the bump doing the pitching tonight. But right in the heart of that lineup in the number 4 spot is one Patrick Wisdom, the newly minted National League Player of the Week. I mentioned right before the break that he kind of exploded out of nowhere. If you haven't heard of Patrick Wisdom before about 2 weeks ago, I don't blame you. I had never heard of Patrick Wisdom. When I first saw the name pop up, honest to goodness, my thought was, that's a made-up name. That's a guy that they just kind of invented and threw out there on the baseball field and said, here you go, here's a guy. Well, not quite so. Patrick Wisdom, this is his 4th year in the majors. He has bounced around quite a bit. He has played In 2018, he played for St. Louis for a handful of games. He also played for the Rangers then in 2019 for all of 9 games. And then he played 2 games for the Cubs last season. So you're talking about a guy who in the last 2 seasons of MLB has played in all of 11 games. And before that, he just bounced all around the minors. He was originally drafted by the Cardinals in the first round. He was a supplemental pick way back in 2012. Was his the year that the Cardinals took him. He was from St. Mary's College out there in California originally, so he played in the WCC league and just bounced around the minors for forever. Made his MLB debut again in 2018. He made his MLB debut for the Cardinals, playing 32 games before then getting sent back down to AAA Memphis, and eventually he got traded to the Rangers. He, again, 9 games for the Rangers in 2019, then 107 games at their AAA affiliate. Home runs, though, just are a regular for him in the minors at the minor league levels. 9 seasons in the minors, played 866 games, hit 134 homers in that time frame, including he had a couple of 30 plus home run seasons in the minor league in the AAA level. 2017 he played 127 games at AAA Memphis, the Cardinals AAA organization, 31 home runs. He then, when he got traded to Texas in 107 games, he hit 31 home runs again. So he's had stretches where he's just knocked the cover off the ball. He just hadn't done it at the major league level, in part because he hadn't had many opportunities. Again, he hasn't played more than 32 games in an MLB season ever. He played 9 games in 2019 and 2 games all of last year. So to suddenly explode, with these 7 home runs in the last 8 games. He also had 3 home runs at AAA Iowa this year in 8 games in Iowa. So he has had in 21 games this season for the Cubs, between the Chicago Cubs and the Iowa Cubs, he's hit 10 home runs in 21 games. He has suddenly been knocking the cover off the ball. It's always cool to see a guy blossom late. We've talked about it a lot with Yermin Mercedes over on the South Side with the White Sox, 28 years old and suddenly finally coming into his own and becoming a mainstay at the major league level. And now we get to see it on the North Side now with Patrick Wisdom. Obviously, he's not going to be able to maintain this. His slash line right now this season overall is 412, 444, and 1088 for an OPS of 1533. He's obviously not going to maintain that level, but he's helping to maintain the offense. I saw a quote from Ian Happ from over the weekend where he said, yeah, our offensive strategy right now is just, get guys on base right before Patrick comes to the plate. That's all we're trying to do. He'll hit them home. So his teammates are having fun with it. Obviously, he's having fun with it. He's making the most out of this opportunity with the Cubs, and it's just fun to see a guy you can call it blossom late or come into his own late, or however you want to look at it, however you want to see it. It's cool to see. And frankly, right now, the Cubs need him with all the guys that they have on the injured list. I almost used the old name, but I caught myself. The injured list, having... Ian Happ had an extended stay on there. David Bodie's on there right now. Jason Hayward just came off after a very, very extended stay. Nico Horner is on there. Jock Peterson might be going on to the injured list with back problems. Anthony Rizzo has been on there. So to have somebody that you can plug in there at third base and know that you're going to get production, that also frees you up to allow you to put Chris Bryant wherever the heck you want to put Chris Bryant. Tonight he's in right field, he's played in left, he's played in center, he's played at first, he's played all, we talked about it, he's played all over the diamond. So having somebody that can hold down the third base position while Chris Bryant is out there playing your unbelievably overqualified utility man role is also very, very helpful and comforting to manager David Ross and the rest of the Cubs. So cool to see Patrick Wisdom get recognized and to just come into his own as he has so much this week. I commented, it was a buddy of mine who actually first made me aware that Patrick Wisdom had gotten the award for this week, and it was, you hit 7 home runs in 8 games, somebody's bound to notice. So congratulations, Patrick Wisdom. Good for you. Keep at it. Keep knocking the cover off the ball, and hopefully it'll be good things tonight for the Cubs out in San Diego. I will be so glad when this West Coast trip for the Cubs is done. This was the same thing I had with the White Sox early in the season when they started on the West Coast. All these late starts. Just I'll be right up front. I don't stay up to watch all of them. I have a 3-year-old. I can't stay up till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning watching a baseball game. It doesn't happen anymore. I used to be able to do it. I guess this is just proof that I'm getting old. I can't do it. I fall asleep around about the third or fourth inning, and then the next thing you know, the game's done, and So these late nights out at the West Coast, no, I'll read about it the next day. Thank you very much. I'll watch the highlight reels. I got too busy and a daughter that it doesn't matter. She doesn't care that Daddy stayed up watching the baseball game. It's 6:30. It's time to get up. You need to take care of me. Oh, quick aside. I hope everybody had an enjoyable weekend. It was a very adventurous weekend in our house this week. Speaking of my daughter. She proved to us that she can reach the top of the top of some dressers that we didn't think she could reach, and she got into some things she shouldn't have, including some of the cat food. That was fun. That was a fun talk. So it was an adventurous weekend. Good times all around. She's fine. She's good. Daddy just, got to wake up and immediately take care of that, which was fun. But so hopefully your guys' weekend was a little less adventurous in that way tonight. But there was also some other adventure in the Cubs extended family that came out over the weekend. There was word that had come out that apparently Ben Zobrist's World Series ring was apparently coming up for auction over the weekend, which if you may remember, Zobrist a couple years, of course, World Series MVP in 2016, and then I believe it was the 2018 season, he suddenly kind of disappear. Oh, Taryn. Oh, Taryn just chimed into the chat about my daughter. That must have been a catastrophe. Oh, Taryn. Oh, Taryn, that's a bad one. Oh. I'm a dad. I make some awful puns. Wow. I gotta write that one down and remember that one. I will tell my wife that one later, and the eye roll I will get from that one. That's the pun game is strong with you on that one, Taryn. Very, very good there. So Zobrist kind of disappeared off the team in 2018, and then it came out that he and his wife are going through some marital problems, and I believe they are still finalizing a divorce. It looked like she had filed for divorce, and he had tried to prevent it and try to win her back, and then they went through with it, and then for a little while it sounded like maybe they were putting all that on hold. I was doing some quick look at it over this weekend. It looks like the divorce has not been finalized, but it looks like they're still separated. But anyway, then word was out that Zobrist's ring was up for auction, and you thought, oh my goodness, is this part of finalizing the divorce decree or something like that? But then and you thought, oh my goodness, of all the rings to get out there, this was not only is this a Cubs World Series ring, this is the MVP of the World Series. You want to talk about that auction house just licking its chops at getting that thing on the block. Oh my goodness. That would have brought in, my heavens, the money that would have brought in. But then Paul Sullivan of the Chicago Tribune tweeted out, no, he has not sold his ring. It is not at an auction house. Zobrist's ring is not up for auction. And then Zobrist himself even put a picture out there that I saw through Paul Sullivan that was Zobrist standing there on a golf course kissing his World Series ring. So strange stuff going on with the Cubs family over the weekend too. So glad to know it wasn't just mine. All right, we are going to take one more quick break, and then coming out, let's talk about some football things. The Bears had their OTAs last week. This was the veterans' first chance to get together and practice officially. So how did Andy Dalton look? Far more importantly, how did Justin Fields look? And there were some other notes and tidbits from across the NFL over the weekend. Let's talk some football here on Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You gotta check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the colleges, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. Before we get into our final segment of the night, let's give one more shout out to our sponsor for the week, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organization. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. That's the Southern California Warriors. And again, you can find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, or on Facebook by looking for Southern California Warriors. And so we go from semi-pro football to let's talk about some pro football for a little bit, shall we? The Bears held organized team activities this past week. What does that mean in English? Basically, they held a bunch of live, in-person practices for a few days. Non-contact, putting names to faces between veterans and rookies, just getting your feet wet for the new offense for newcomers. Guys like Andy Dalton gets a chance now to actually show what he's learned with the offense a little bit. And from all accounts, it seems like Dalton, as much as you can impress in shorts and t-shirts and no pads in the middle of June, impressed. Matt Nagy was quick to praise Dalton. He was also very quick to point out that Dalton still is the number one quarterback on the roster right now, that he did all the reps with the first team. Another note about OTAs that we'll get into a little bit more here in a second. They are technically voluntary, but it's one of those, you're expected to be there kind of, unless you're sick, dead, or family member is one of those two conditions, you're there kind of a situation. And for the most part, the offense was there for the most part. Notable exceptions were Allen Robinson and then Nick Foles on the offense. Talk about Nick Foles in a little bit more here too. But Andy Dalton, by all accounts, as much as one can in June, impressed. He had done his homework. He had said, yeah, I'm familiar with this offense. I'm used to coming into a situation with a new coordinator in a new situation. I believe the quote from him was that, I've had seven coordinators in my 10 years in the league. I'm used to jumping in and getting my feet wet right away and having to adjust. And again, Bill Lazor being on the coaching staff, Bill Lazor was in Cincinnati with Andy Dalton there when Dalton had one of his better years with the team. So Dalton's somewhat familiar with this offense already. And Nagy commented just how nice it was having a guy who was out there that was anticipating the routes and understanding where receivers are going to be or where they're supposed to be in the offense. And you remember that was one of the things that he constantly was having trouble with Trubisky and Foles over the last couple of seasons, was that they just weren't anticipating where they were waiting to see where the guy was before throwing, instead of anticipating this is where that receiver is supposed to be, this is where that receiver is going to end up, that's where this play is designed to go, and throwing to a spot. So good things from Dalton. He also had excellent praise for Justin Fields, that he commented that Justin Fields is meeting expectations for the team in a lot of ways, and even in some ways he is exceeding his expectations already. He didn't go into detail there, and of course Bears social media kind of exploded. Oh my goodness, Fields is exceeding expectations. Is he ready to start? He should be the starter. Get him in there. And it was no, slow down. In some areas, he's exceeding expectations. He's still got work to do, and it's still a work in progress. I'm going to maintain, and I'm going to hold on that when Fields is ready, that's when they should put him in. If that's week 1, it's week 1. If it's week 5 or 6, it's week 5 or 6. If it's week 12, so be it. It's week 12. That when Justin Fields is ready to start in the NFL, that's when they should put him in. And it seems like, so far, Fields is on a good path. That he's doing the right things. The Bears put out over the weekend, too, if you didn't see it, they put out on their YouTube page something else with Fields that caught the fan base's attention as part of a longer, it was about a 25-minute piece that they did on the draft class as a whole, behind-the-scenes look, some interviews with the scouts, and then a look in the draft room as players were selected, and then also some mic'd up players during rookie minicamp. The big quote that got everybody's attention was Fields saying that his former college teammate, who was a center, got drafted by the wrong team, got drafted by the Packers. And of course everybody, Bears fans went nuts for that. Oh, man, all right. He's bought in. He hates the Packers, too, just like us. Okay, cool. It was a fun little moment. Actually, the moment from that I liked the best was there was a shot when one of the 6th-round picks got taken. I believe it was Khalil Herbert got drafted. And the Bears in their draft room, they hand the phone to Coach Nagy, and Nagy gets him on the phone and says, "Hey, how you doing?" And he said, I believe it was Herbert, whoever the player was, said, "Man, I'm tired and I'm frustrated. This is the 3rd day of the draft. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated." And Nagy responded with, "Frustrated? Well, you're about to be drafted. You're about to be a Bear." And then you hear the player's entire family in the background. He's got mom, dad, and a couple of other family members all just go nuts celebrating with him, to the point where Nagy actually, he wanted to talk more with the young man, and he couldn't do it. He put it on speaker so that everybody else in the draft room could hear the excitement. And then he tried to interject in there at some point and just realized, nope, this isn't going to happen. We'll catch it. We've got more to talk about, but we'll get to it later. It was just such a cool moment. It was those kinds of moments that I really liked from the piece. Just getting to peek behind the curtain and see some of the behind the scenes with the family members, both of the players and with the scouts and the coaches too, getting through that. That was what I liked best from that piece. Some other NFL notes from around the league real quick. Of course, Julio Jones, the wide receiver from the Falcons, he is no longer a Falcon. He is now a Titan. He is going to be he's in the AFC, so that's it makes the Titans all the much stronger. And from a Bears perspective, it makes another team in the NFC weaker, which will hopefully help the Bears. Who knows? Maybe they will make the playoffs back-to-back weeks. Nick Foles is apparently a hot commodity all of a sudden. I had mentioned that Foles was one of the few offensive players that wasn't there at OTAs. Officially, it was for personal reasons. He had a family situation. So, that, and again, they are voluntary. So he doesn't have to be there. The team has made it perfectly clear too that Foles is going to be the third stringer. That if all goes according to plan, Nick Foles does not see the field this year for the Bears. They saw enough of him last year. They've moved on. They're not going to cut him because, believe it or not, it would actually cost the Bears money to cut him. So he'll be on the team, but he's going to be the third string quarterback. Well, rumor keeps flying out and word keeps coming out that apparently the Jets might be interested in Nick Foles. Their quarterback, they of course drafted Zach Wilson in this past draft, and he is unquestionably going to be their starter from day one. Well, apparently the other two guys that they have on the roster at the moment are a couple of players that have never played in the NFL, have never taken a snap in a regular season NFL game before. So very, very, very raw. And at the Jets OTAs last week, reporters and scouts and players got a good look at just how raw those guys are. And suddenly there has been a lot of clamoring in New York for a veteran, experienced backup to be there for the Jets. And maybe Nick Foles would be the guy. I talked a little bit with Harrison and Pierre from the show that never sleeps last week. They do an awesome job covering New York sports on Wednesdays. Check them out. 5 o'clock Central Time on Wednesdays. I talked with them a little bit about it last week, and they both just, no way. Harrison is a huge Jets fan, and he was, no, that's not happening. Be interesting to see if he changes his tune this week with the situation we're seeing now with the Jets. Man, if you're the Bears, if you can get anything for Nick Foles, it could be a 7th round pick in the 2024 draft. Do it. You know, you're not planning on doing anything with him this season at all. It's not uncommon that teams anymore don't even keep 3 quarterbacks. If you can get anything for Foles, do it. Get him the team will benefit from it as a whole. And then the last wonderful, beautiful nugget from the NFL is coming out. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be at Green Bay's minicamp coming up later this week. It's going to cost him some money. It's going to cost him in the neighborhood of about 50 or 60 grand. But the drama continues up in Green Bay between the Packers and Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur. I hope it goes on all summer. I honestly don't expect it to, but it would just be glorious to see that team suddenly become dysfunctional and force the reigning league MVP into a retirement just because he can't stand the front office. I'm rooting for it. I'm hoping for it. I hope it comes to fruition. All right, well, that does it for our show this week. I want to say thank you to our sponsor, the Southern California Warriors, for once again sponsoring IT Sports Radio this week. Thank you to Larry for all of the hard work that he does each and every week behind the scenes, making IT Sports Radio tick and function. Thank you to Taryn for hopping on into the chat room. A couple quick notes from him. He sees the Bears as being a playoff team again. Maybe even an NFC North favorite if the Packers continue to screw things up. We'll see how that goes. That is a topic for another time. In the meantime, Taryn is off to go do Set Point, his outstanding volleyball show that he is doing right here in about, another 40 seconds. So be sure to stick around and listen to Taryn over on Set Point coming up. Finally, thanks to you, the listeners, for continuing to come here every week, whether it's live or whether it's as a podcast later on in the week, and just continuing to show your support. I really appreciate it. It makes this a lot of fun to do. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy the fact that there is going to be full attendance at the ballparks here coming up later this week. Enjoy the city opening back up. We'll talk to you next week.